And the training I wanted to talk about was something I was reminded of just the other day when I was talking to an associate, is about doing the presentations. And one of the skill sets that I learned really early on, when we opened up the Monterey marketplace, there wasn't any live events taking place there. There was a business briefing in Gilroy, California, for those of you that are aware of that. And then the next one was in, of course, Mountain View or in Sunnyvale areas. So I was kind of forced into doing the presentations really early on. And I started with a flip chart. The corporate office printed out these presentation slides that we get through our business briefing. We could buy them. And I would sit down one-on-one and do a flip chart presentation. Of course, as technology advanced, we started switching from flip books to more of the PowerPoint presentations. But I wanted to tell you is that it's a critical skill set that we don't talk about a lot, is learning the presentation. And I want to share with you a little bit why. But first, let's talk about, where is the presentation? This is probably in the top 10 text messages I get from associates, whether it be on the team or the state, is where's the new PowerPoint or where's the new briefing slides? And so I want everybody to take a screenshot or write this down, because I don't want this to be a mystery anymore about where it's hidden. When I saw this picture, I could even hear Christian Bale being like, where are they? So you want to go into your lsengage.com, click on resources. Then you're going to see a tab there that says sponsor new associates and opportunity presentations. And the presentation you're looking for is our U.S. Business Opportunity Presentation version, October the 21st, 2021. Which shares the new membership overview with the new price points and the new compensation plan. So make sure you download the correct PowerPoint presentation, just to make sure you have the up-to-date information. And then what are some of the best ways? And as I go through this list, I'd really ask of you to, if you can think of other ways other than the ones that I share, please share them in the chat room. I like to take notes and expand upon existing training. So if you think of something that I may not have thought of, then I would definitely appreciate any input that you have. So share that in the chat. And the best way is attend our phone-based Zooms. I mean, Monday through Friday, 1:45 p.m. Because we have a different presenter each week or each day. And so you get to hear different versions. Now, what I did early on watching presentations was I wasn't so much writing down the information, like the bullet points of the explanation of benefits, but if I heard an expression that I thought really resonated with me, I would write that down. And I think this is the best way, is to continue to attend that briefing and then to take down notes as if you were going to turn around and give that presentation to somebody else. Then brand new, hot off the press, is our 19-minute, 54-second overview with Jackie Cote and Brian Carruthers. And evergreen just means is that presentation is never going to change. And this is one of the ways that I got started, was Brian Carruthers and Darnell Self had a DVD out that we could watch the presentation, and it was always the same. And I'll tell you, my first handful of presentations almost sounded verbatim to what Darnell Self and Brian Carruthers, until I was able to actually utilize my own language in there. And once you get comfortable doing that, but I would encourage you is to watch that frequently. And as you share it with people, sit there and watch it with them. And you'll definitely be able to take some great notes from two incredible top income earners. Next way is to practice on a family member or a friend. Now, this has two intentions. One is you get to practice the presentation. So you're learning as you're giving it, but now you're actually doing a presentation for a prospective member and or an associate. So one of the things when you have a brand new associate get started, you might ask them to say, hey, can we schedule a time with a family or friend to sit down, you do the presentation for them, and then they can give you their feedback or let them know what they like best about the presentation. And then you as the sponsor or upline support team can sit in on that presentation, whether that be virtually or in person, and just be able to provide feedback for them. But that's a great way to learn how to do the presentation. One of the ways I love doing it is recording myself doing a presentation and then watching it, taking note. I know a lot of us that are in either speaking organizations such as Toastmasters, writing down how many times you say looking for places where you may have been hung up in transitions, whether you're talking about moving from the legal plan to talk about ID Shield, or moving from the membership side to talking about the business opportunity. Sometimes I hear associates get a little fumbled when they're trying to make that smooth transition. So it's really important to record yourself doing the presentation and then watching it over again, and you're going to improve dramatically. I love just conducting 2-on-1 sit downs where you may be doing the presentation. Someone's there that's already an associate or member that can be there for backup. This would be a great way for the sponsor to do some field training on the opportunity side, where they do the presentation, you sit and watch, and you're able to give them feedback after the meeting is over, not during the meeting, unless they make some gross negligent misexplanation of our services. It's best to just sit there and take notes on what they said and how they may be able to present the information a little bit better. So here's some keys to remember about the presentation itself. For one is the time. I've seen a lot of associates that they do the presentation, and they do a very long presentation. You don't have to be a marketing guru to see that we have a very short period of time to maintain someone's interest. And so you want to make sure that you keep the conversation about yourself brief. I remember 14 years ago when I got started with LegalShield, and associates are infinitely better now. But I remember back in the day, I would hear associates that would talk about themselves for 20, 30 minutes before they would ever get into the presentation. And it's got to be very simple. And I think all of our associates that do the phone-based Zoom do very good about it, is really just spending 2 minutes or less just talking, just referring to yourself. My name is Chris Ward. I come from Denver, Colorado. My background was U.S. Army and small business ownership. And keep it simple. If you had 50 different jobs, don't go through every industry that you were ever involved in. Just hit up just maybe one, maybe two prominent professional backgrounds, and you can talk about then what was the pain point? What was it in your life? For me, I share in the military that I love to travel. I spent 4 years out of my 11 overseas, but the only challenge was I never got to choose where I was stationed, where I was deployed. And even though they gave us 30 days paid vacation, I never got to choose when I took that vacation. It was always dictated by the training calendar. Now you can say, now with LegalShield opportunity, I'm able to continue to travel, but I choose where I go, for how long, with who, and so on and so forth. So identifying that pain point, and you got to do this right out of the gate, because you got to connect with your audience. And they're going to start asking about pain points in their life and looking for ways that the LegalShield opportunity, whether it just be the membership and or the opportunity, can help them out. And then I want to share with you what I saw 14 years ago. Now maybe you haven't been in LegalShield that long, but you can even do this as a new person. Listen, I'd like to share with you the information that was shared with me just a month ago. So now you're just explaining, you're sharing with them basically the same presentation. Now, when we go through the membership overview, one of the things that has been taught, I know Brian Carruthers beats this hardly, is using the "if you were my attorney" story. Now, again, you want to dedicate only about 10 to 15 minutes talking about the membership, and that's both the legal and the ID Shield. And when you set up the "if you were my attorney" story, I think it's a great way to exhibit the value of our services. So it would be something to the effect of, I talk about when I had my attorney had a $10,000 retainer, it was $400 an hour. So if you were my attorney, and let's say that you charge $400 an hour, how much would you charge me for these services? And then I go through the benefits. Now, I don't talk about all the benefits. If anybody that's watched my presentation, I may hit on the top 5, really. I talk about the unlimited advice and guidance, contract and document review, letters and phone calls, the traffic ticket assistance, and will preparation. I don't go into all the other benefits. It's something you want to undersell and over deliver, because you can spend a lot of time trying to explain each of the benefits. And then in both cases, stick to only one story that's regarding the legal plan and one story that's regarding the ID Shield. Now, remember, we already have in our phone-based Zoom opportunity, we have 3 testimonies about the membership. So you don't need to provide 4 or 5 different testimonies on different areas of the plan. So just stick to one story about the legal plan and one story about the ID Shield. And they should be real life stories about how somebody's situation was improved because they had used LegalShield. Don't give a what if scenario like, well, if so-and-so, when they got pulled over and arrested, if they had had LegalShield, that situation would have changed out different. You don't know that. That's a what if. And you don't want to use that when you're sharing this story. And you also want to make sure that you're using benefits that are most applicable to your audience. Sometimes we tell these grandiose legal plan stories and they could be 100% true. Maybe you had this over amazing story of you and the service provided by your particular provided law firm, but maybe it's not an applicable story to everybody. So use things that people are accustomed to, maybe a speeding ticket, and then judge your audience. I know Brian Carruthers used to talk about this in the trainings, is saying, if you're talking to a younger person, you may want to talk about rental agreements, or you may talk about speeding tickets. And if you're talking to maybe an older person, you may want to talk about estate planning devices, or purchasing a property, or so on and so forth. So make sure you read your audience and highlight the benefits that are most applicable to your audience. And then again, undersell. Each benefit does not need an explanation. So remember that. Now, as we transition into the business opportunity, this is somewhere I see majority of new associates have the greatest challenge with, is making that transition. So it's really good to listen to how other associates, Ms. Deering does an incredible job of it. Ms. Amy Doyle does an incredible job of it. Mr. Hasnain Kaku does an incredible job of it, is listen to the way they make that transition to talk about the business opportunity. Now, again, this only takes about 10 minutes to talk about. You can really get into the minutia of talking about the numbers, and confused minds do nothing. So you want to talk about how much are they going to make when they sell a membership. So you, Amy, as a brand new associate, when you go out and you sell a $64.90 plan, you're going to make $70. Now that's going to be paid to you as earned. But if you want that advanced to you, you're going to level up to the senior associate position. So that's all they need to know. Now, how much are they going to, now, of course, we go through the rest of the compensation plan, how much they could ultimately make as they stay with the business. But don't spend a lot of time there, nor try to explain in detail how it took me probably 10 times looking at the comp plan to figure out how it worked. And I even talked to some platinum executive directors that are still not really sure how it works, but they know that the paychecks keep coming. So don't get hung up there too much. Then they also need to know is how much they're going to make when somebody they introduce this opportunity to goes out and sells membership. So you, Amy, when you bring in somebody in the business, you can earn an override from anywhere from $20 up to $370 every time somebody you introduce this opportunity to goes out and sells a membership. Now, these are incredible. You want to talk about how the residual income works. So these are 12-month advanced commissions. So what happens for the next 20 years of that membership? You're going to continue to get a percentage of the monthly premium on every membership, not only that you wrote, but every membership that you have an override from. And I think that's a clear distinction. You don't want to say that your team wrote, because you may not have gotten an override from everybody on your team. So just make sure that anything you got an override from, you're going to continue to get a percentage of that monthly premium for 20 years of that membership. That is absolutely incredible. And then enroll them in a vision of yourself. Just say, listen, if you had just 5 team members selling 4 memberships a month, you could be generating anywhere between, $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Get them thinking about what is possible for them once they start building a big LegalShield business. Now the close, as you're wrapping up, you want to ask them just a simple, and here's a series of questions. You don't have to ask all of these questions. I love Millionaire Club member, Platinum Executive Director, Mr. Michael Dorsey. He says he gives them the opportunity to buy. He doesn't like using the word close. I don't mind close. To me, it just sounds like you're ending the conversation. But whenever I just bluntly, after I'm done with the presentation, you may say, hey, what did you like best about what you saw? And then wait for them to give you an answer. Or you might say, hey, so do you see yourself as a member and an associate or just a member? That's a great question. There's only a positive response there. You see, there's no way to say, no, I'm not interested. You're asking, do you see yourself as a member and an associate or just a member? Well, sometimes they're just like, you know what? I just see myself as a member. Or, yeah, I'd like to do both. How much money? Now, these are the closing questions that, or the 3-question close that Michael Dorsey taught. And he just asked somebody, how much money would you have to make this month in order for this to make sense to you? And have them come up with a number, and then ask, how much time would you commit to building your LegalShield business? And I think this is important, is for people to get a concept of maybe on a weekly basis. So somebody said, well, right now I'm working a job, I've got the kids, I could probably commit, 6 hours a week to this. Great. Okay. So then you might say, well, how much of a time commitment? Listen, if I were to show you how to make an extra $1,000 a month, working 6 hours a week, how many months would you commit to work? I didn't put that question in here, but it's a great question. How many months would you commit to working with me if we can get you to that place? And let them give you a time frame. Listen, I commit to working with you for 6 or 7 months. Now, what does that mean? That means the 10 core commitments. Okay, we're committed to first step, fast start. We're committing to the weekly briefing. We're committing to Super Saturday. So it's all of these commitments inside your LegalShield business, all of which I remember some of our leaders early on when we looked at the 10 core commitments, really, you could break it down to about 8 hours a week. I can't remember which associate actually did that, but when they showed us, if you were to actually commit to the 10 core commitments, it was about 8 to 10 hours a week on a minimum, if for somebody that was part-time, spare time. Another grading question you can ask somebody is just, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means you're ready to get started right now. And I don't throw in the negative. I don't say 1 means that you're absolutely not interested. I don't say that. I just say, hey, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 meaning you're ready to get started right now, where are you? Now, if they say anything from 7 to 9, typically that means that they have additional questions. And then we'll ask them that. And it's, hey, what other information could I get you to help you get ready that would prepare you or get you ready to get signed up today? Because sometimes it's only a few questions. And this is a great time to use a lifeline to your expert, get them on a 3-way call. Hey, Miss Derry, I'm sitting here with so-and-so. They just had a quick question about the chargeback. If somebody were to cancel their membership, let's say after 6 months, would you explain how that works? That's a great way to leverage your expert to answer those questions if you're sitting in a 2-on-1. So those are some great closing questions when you're sitting around. So the total time that you should, I showed you the overview with Jackie Cote and Brian Carruthers, it's 19 minutes. So really this whole presentation should only take 20 to 25 minutes maximum. If you're doing, and folks, I've been guilty of it. If you're doing a presentation and you look at your watch and an hour has passed by and you're just still talking, you're talking yourself out of business. So make sure you keep it brief and just really ask a lot of questions. I'm going to talk about that too, is ask positive response questions throughout. So it's the psychological training of them going through the presentations. And if you're asking questions while you're going through the presentation, they're going to give you the reasons why they need to become a member and or an associate. So some of the questions you might ask during the presentation, you can do this one-on-one or you can do this when you're doing a business briefing, is, hey, have you ever felt taken advantage of? And you, as the asking you question, just nod. Yes, because they're going to nod in agreement as well. Now, you don't want to get so specific that they give you a no response. So if I were to ask them, hey, have you ever had a DUI? First, it's kind of an intrusive question, but more than likely they're going to say no anyway, even if they had. So you don't want to ask questions that they could say a no to. Like, have you heard about identity theft? I don't ask them, have you ever been a victim of identity theft? Again, it could be an intrusive question. They may say no, even if they have. Maybe they don't know that they've been a victim of identity theft. And I don't say that either. If they say, no, I haven't been a victim of identity theft, I'm like, you probably have, you just don't know it. I've heard associates say that. Don't do that. That's confrontational. So I might say, hey, have you heard about identity theft? Yes, I've heard about it. And then let them say, I've been a victim of identity theft, or my sister was a victim of identity theft. Then I'll stop if I'm doing a one-on-one, I'll be like, if it's not too personal, would you share what happened? Typically it's a credit card, debit card, checking or savings fraud case, but sometimes they do tell stories about how somebody was working in their social, or somebody got their driver's license, so on and so forth. Another yes question. Have you ever wanted to earn more money? Have you ever in your life, have you ever wanted to earn more money? Yes. At one point in everybody's life, nobody has ever said, no, I do not want to earn more money. I have wealthy friends, and when we sit around, what do you think they talk about? How to make more money. That's the conversations, So it's absolutely good. So these are all yes questions. And then, when you're talking about the opportunity, hey, have you ever wanted to spend more time with friends and family? So they've done a survey where they went through people that were seniors or of age, and one of their dying wishes is that they wish that they would have spent more time with friends and family. And that's one of the top, if not number one reason, things that people regret at the end of their life. And so everybody thinks about it. They just don't maybe not necessarily act upon it until it's too late. So just ask them, hey, do you want to spend more time with friends and family? Again, every time you ask a question, you're nodding or raising your hand, being like, right? Because they're going to mirror you. And the more times you get them saying yes through the presentation, when you say, do you see yourself as a member and associate? You're nodding. Why? Because you've already trained them throughout the presentation to say yes to everything that you ask. So now, I also like to address as many objections in my presentation as possible, because we know we're going to have to address them at the end anyway. And so if you address them in the presentation, you can just remind them, be like, oh yeah, you remember I had told you prior to LegalShield, I had never used an attorney, right? That's how you address it, because one of the things they might say at the end of your presentation is, well, I've never used an attorney. I'll say, well, you remember me, prior to LegalShield, I had never used an attorney, Or, hey, I never had a will. Now, I can't say that. I got a will done when I was in the military. And when I'm speaking to veterans, I absolutely bring that up. I'll say, listen, I got my will done through the Judge Advocate General's office, but now that I'm out of the military, the JAG office isn't going to provide me with a will. There's not even a military resource to provide you with a free will. So with LegalShield, I was able to update my will. And if anything in my life changes down the road, I can update that will at no additional charge other than my monthly membership. How about, I didn't even realize all the areas of identity theft and how negative it could impact me, right? I didn't even think about it. I only thought about bank fraud. My bank has credit monitoring. So I didn't realize until my brother was a victim of identity theft, that the expanse of driver's license fraud. And then when you're talking about the opportunity, there's people that say, well, I've never done anything like this before. Or you can say the opposite, but be honest with your response. Like me, I'd never been in network marketing. Like LegalShield was my first, and I've never done anything else other than LegalShield for 14 years. Matter of fact, I wasn't even really familiar. I had heard of companies like Mary Kay and Tupperware and a few others, but I didn't even realize how their business model worked. So I had never done anything like this before. But because of the training that we have online and in virtual or live online, I was able to learn how to do my LegalShield business in slivers of time that did not, and usually I'll say this too, if it does not impact anything else that you already have going on, right? Or if I can wrap it around your busy schedule. Use the language of your audience. Or if you are somebody that's maybe this is your 10th network marketing company, you can say, listen, me, Amy, I've tried several businesses, but finally found one where I could make a living while making a difference, right? So that way you're addressing that at the end, because they might say, well, I tried fill in the blank company 20 years ago and it just didn't work out for me. I'd be like, oh, I get it. You know, I tried several businesses before. None of them really worked out for me until I found this one where I felt like I was really making an impact on the community. You know, if I asked them why it didn't work out, you know, hey, I filled up my garage with product and I couldn't get rid of it fast enough because it was on auto ship. Great. Hey, same boat. You know, I know exactly how you feel. I felt the exact same way. What I learned with this is that I only have to buy one membership. I don't have a garage full of attorneys. So that way you can address those objections. So when they comes in, use those in your presentation as often as possible that way. And especially if you know one of your prospects' objections before you even start the presentation, then you can do that. Now, the most important is, folks, is keep calm and stay loose. It's lighten up and stay loose day, loosen up, lighten up day. So if you gotta have fun, when you're engaging prospects, whether that be in a presentation mode, whether you're at a business briefing or luncheon, or whether you're doing a one-on-one, is you got to keep it light. If the more serious or rigid that you do your presentation for, they're not going to feel comfortable with you. You know, try to be funny. If you're not funny, don't try to be funny. Don't tell jokes if you're not. I'm not good at telling jokes. Miss Deering has some killer dad jokes that she drops on us on the phone-based Zoom. I'm not good at joke delivery. I think I'm a funny guy in conversation, but I can't deliver jokes, so I don't tell jokes, right? But I can smile at people, you nod with them, you know. Now, if you're talking about a serious subject, if something comes up in their life and don't start smiling and laughing, mirror match your prospect, but keep it light and they'll feel comfortable